works. Right off the get-go, you might have read about it. It's basically a processor hardware flaw. It's an engineering flaw with all of the CPUs that we all use in our machines. Okay, so pretty much everything that was made after 2011, it applies. So our cell phones and our tablets and our computers and desktops and all that kind of stuff, it applies to. And to get a good feel for what danger that it poses, I got to come up with some analogies. And so here's a couple of them. First off, the difference in your computer, why this poses such a big problem, is because this is a hardware engineering flaw, security flaw in the hardware engineering, the way that the processor does things. So you kind of look at your computer as having two sides. It has a hardware side and it has a software side. And you can think of the hardware side sort of as like the noun and the software as sort of the verb. Okay, so the software is the rules. It's governed by the rules of the software. Okay, so instruction sets and gravity, all of that stuff you can consider software. Hardware is think of a lower level. You say that the CPU in the computer is the brain. Well, these are the two sides of the brain. You got the conscious and the subconscious. The subconscious sort of speaks caveman, right? Real capable, can do a whole lot of stuff. That's your CPU. And then your logic and your reason, that is over on the conscious version, and then that is your software. So now you kind of know what's going on there. Think of, on that lower level. Okay, so I'll give you another analogy here. So if you ask your processor to do something, think of it as a calculator. So its job is to take a bunch of data, figure out what the answer is, and then store the data somewhere quickly because it's going to need it in another operation, right? So that does that over and over so fast, right, that it does millions of these and billions of these formulas over and over and over again so fast that you can do intelligent things with them because they're happening so swiftly. So the problem here is that the processor, they're making a little bit more intelligent, a little bit more capable. Because it's capable of doing so many routines, what they started to do with these things is make sort of guesses. The processor's allowed to go out there and complete formulas that it wasn't asked to complete in anticipation of you asking for them. So if it's, if someone says, I'm going to go get lunch, right? And you don't know what I'm going to have for lunch, so you can do like 50,000 things at one time. So you're just going to bring out everything that could be a lunch item so that when I ask for it, right, you're ready to serve it up. Now, lunch doesn't work because you'd have so much waste. But in this deal, if you don't end up needing the formula that it broke down for you, it's able to cancel it out and kill it super quick and free up that space again. So that's sort of your processors in the background making these anticipatory decisions and calculating these anticipatory formulas just because you might ask for that one, and it's a lot quicker for it to handle the calculation than having to go out to the hard drive or the memory, which is far slower than inter-CPU calculations. It can do it there than it tries to. So that's really what's happening here is they found a flaw in these anticipatory calculations that are happening where code that really isn't supposed to be running is being given access or could have been giving access to the stuff that it's retaining in that really short memory. So, where we set up these rules that govern the security behind how things are accessed, we expect most people to come through the software and the proper gateways to be able to make, memory access requests and processing things that way. We don't really expect them to look at a back-end routine, a back-end maneuver that adds to the performance of the CPU. It really does. It picks up what it's capable of doing performance-wise. So now, because somebody can go through all those, extra dinners that they laid out and sort through them when, the operator doesn't even really know that they're happening. It's hidden from us. We don't know that, we wanted to do one operation and it prepared 50 of them and we ended up needing one of those 50. It saved time because it had to, it was 100 times faster pulling it from the CPU. Now, a lot of this is kind of tech speak, and I'm trying to keep it to a point where you can sort of have a connection with it and how it applies to you. So I just laid out that this is something that, none of us would have, the proper normal people would have never known this was even happening. So where, they're engineering some performance tweaks, right? They never in a million years would have thought that somebody could get to the data that they were sorting out beforehand, and that's where we've come in. So basically, they say that this is what's happening. All of this extra data that's laying around can be tricked into being harvested by something. So someone on a website or someone in an application could actually dump this stuff that's sitting in the CPU, grab some of that data, and try to make use of it. Now, it's probably not easy. This is a very sophisticated hack. So there's a lot of, even though they've known about it for a while, you don't hear of much of anything have happened at this point, because it was, it takes quite an operation to be able to successfully extract enough of that CPU data to get something of substance. There's far easier ways to hack than this way, unless you're targeting a very specific computer that will have been passing certain passwords or, whatever, browser information up through it. So all of the software people say that, well, they're going to put these blocks in place in the operating system. So you guys should be receiving some Windows updates. If you haven't already done so, you want to go through Control Panel and run those updates and let them run all the way through till there aren't any. Same thing with your iOS and all of your devices. From the software, and they're going to try to put barriers between the persons that can do this and being able to pull it off. But in the end, that processor is still vulnerable until you replace it. I mean, when you read down this article of what's happening, the result or the summary is replace your hardware, right? So we're hoping that our security packages and our software can write enough rules that can defend against this, wide open hole on the hardware side, but it's still there regardless. So let's hope that makes it better until we all get new equipment. I'm going to keep an eye on it and see what equipment is the first in the next generation that has defended against this stuff, and I'll be sure to share that stuff with you. So from your standpoint, from all of our standpoints, really the only thing that we can do is update our software, knowing that they're going to throw as much as they can to keep this from becoming an issue, and that's on every device, on tablets, laptops, your Chrome boxes, and any ARM processor devices. It doesn't apply to. They just didn't use the same technology that the other ones did. So, from what I've read this morning, you're safe. So, 330-729-9977. Let's go to Bob. Bob, you're on the Youngstown Computer Show. How can I help you?
Hey, great show. Got two questions.
Sure.
First one's kind of a minor question. Add-ons. I keep getting a message at the bottom of the screen. Do I want to allow add-ons? What are those? What are those add-ons? Are they ads, commercial ads, or?
Think of it as your browser allows certain functions that aren't there with the native browser. So if you have an antivirus or you have Adobe, a lot of those functions will be blocked by default until you give it permission. So if you have a bunch of add-ons that are either disabled or not working, I mean, it doesn't stop you from doing anything except for that site's or that product's function. So they can be dangerous if you just have ones running that you don't know what they are. So I do have you clear those out from time to time. But if you know the product's good, it doesn't hurt you to have those add-ons on.
So you just go into Internet Explorer and Properties and just eliminate the ones that are there?
Yep, disable and remove.
Okay. Second question.
Sure.
My Internet service provider allows me to go on their Internet and monitor my upload, download speed, and also, my megabytes I utilize for that month. If I do not want to use that particular website, can I go to a free website that offers the same?
They're giving you like the total though, like how much you've processed, you've pushed through?
Yeah, per month.
Okay.
Billing is dictated by
right.
how many megabytes I use. Yeah.
Yeah, they would have they have the only gauge that sees how much went over that pipe. You can run something on the Windows side, but it'll only tell you that device and what it used. So yeah, either you can get a router that also does that and has that metric if you don't trust the how they're measuring things too.
Mm-hmm. Okay, very good. I have Microsoft 10, and they have downloaded a patch to counteract that deficiency in the Intel chip.
Yep.
How well it's going to work, who knows?
Yeah, I'm really hopeful, but it's still there.
Let me ask you this:
Sure.
Two computers. How would you rate them? The brand names 1 and 2. Dell #1 or IBM #1? How would you rate one or two?
Dell's going to be above IBM, and Lenovo has been sort of like one step behind on the hardware curve for a little while now. They've been very consistent and very quiet, but performance-wise, they've been a little bit back. And and their pricing is about the same level where Dell was. So if I'm going to buy it, I'm going to buy the one that maybe is, it's at the same price level, but will perform a little bit better.
Well, I worked in computers a long time ago, and AMD was always had better graphics, but the chip itself didn't perform as well as the Intel. Is that still hand true, or
not as much? I mean, it was a stability factor. You're right that it ran a little bit hot sometimes, and it ran a little bit unstable. But really, I can't even tell that I'm on one anymore. And you used to be able to kind of tell. So I think we're beyond that a little bit.
Thanks for your time.
All right. Thanks, Bob. Appreciate it. Any of you out there, too, I mean, the way that this works with your ISPs, you basically buy a connection, a pipe. Think of a big, pipe coming into your house that carries your internet. And in that pipe, you're worried about two things: the speed at which what's inside travels and the total amount that you're capable of having in a given time. And when you cap your bandwidth, what you're doing is you're saying, all right, I'm giving you 10 gigabytes of data, and you can consume it as fast as you want, but as soon as it's done, then you have to start paying more on the other side of that. Now, Verizon and AT&T, usually what happens is once you hit your cap level, now you go to like a second tier where you can continue to get data. You receive it a little bit slower at a lesser priority, and you end up paying a little bit more for the data. So I don't know if it's $50 for every 10 gigs or whatever pricing plan they have you on, but it's important if you don't have, I know a lot of people that they had leaks in their internet where they were going through their data so quickly, and they only had a couple computers that were on the line. So you put some software on there to find out if there's a device that's not doing what it should do, and you can kind of figure out which machine and then which piece of software and what's not behaving, because you can have one machine tear through your internet pretty quickly, especially if in the rural areas when you guys have you're on cellular data and you're capped at 10 gigabytes and you're paying almost $100. You got to be very sparing with how quickly you burn through that data, because there isn't much more for cheap on the other side of running out. So you got to be, careful that way. So again, you have the total bandwidth, right? How wide that pipe is, how much is coming in, how fast it's traveling, and the total cap. So 330-729-9977. Let's go next to Ron. Ron, you're on the Youngstown Computer Show. How can I help you?
Hello, Joe.
Hi.
I've got a Dell desktop, and I'm running Windows 7, and I've been using Chrome, Google Chrome for a browser, and one thing I liked about it was when you first clicked on it, you had the icons for your 8 most common websites that you visit, if you know what I mean.
Yep, sure do.
Well, about a week ago, they just disappeared, and I don't know how to get them back.
That's called something in settings, and I'm going to have to go look at one to see what it's called. I totally forget what they call that. I think it's called Welcome Screen.
I looked all around, in the tools, and I didn't see anything that might do it. And it'd be a pain, but I'm tempted just to, erase it and start all over. But I hate to do that if there's a way to do it. So
gotcha. I'm going to find it next to the break, so keep listening,
Great.
and I'll make sure I mention it.
I'll do that. Thanks, Joe, for a great show.
All right, thank you. Appreciate you being out there, and have a happy new year. All right, 330-729-9977. All right, let me tell you about Youngstown Computer, and we are the company that provides this show on Saturdays. So if you do have a hardware problem or you want to buy a new piece of equipment, we're selling computers now. So I'm so excited about being able to provide my own hardware. Those of you who are used to sort of like the middle-of-the-road machines that are just sort of average performers, we ratchet it up and we put together some machines that provide some performance. So if you're interested in having us build you a machine, we're going to pick one up that we have in stock. 330-259-7278 is the phone number. Our office is located over on 600 Youngstown Poland Road in Struthers. So again, that's the number, 330-259-7278 is the number. All right, we're going to take a break. Mark and Larry, I see you're out there. I'm going to take your calls when we come back from the break. You're listening to the Youngstown Computer Show on 570 WKBN. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the Youngstown Computer Show. This is Joe Daniel, owner of Youngstown Computer, and we do this on Saturday. We get to talk about things happening in tech, and all of you that are out there can kind of learn by proxy through all of the conversations and the topics that we bring up today. So it's kind of good when we deviate and we go off in different areas, because a lot of you who've maybe hit this a couple times, you're helping me answer the question in the background, and it's cool when you get to move into a territory that you might not have any experience in, because then you get to learn something too. So while it's fun, to agree on stuff, it's better if we pick a little bit more up this time than we did last time. So welcome everybody who's just joined the show for the first time. I hope you stick around. It sort of works like osmosis. You stick around it long enough, and you listen to it long enough, and you start picking at some of the words that are used, and you just kind of get used to it. It's not something where you go eureka and I get it. You just sort of slowly grab it into who you are. You get to learn about that thing that's sitting in front of you, and it turns from a magical black box that does computer things to something you have a way better understanding of, and you can make better, more intelligent decisions about. So let's take a phone call, 330-729-9977. Let's go to Mark next. Mark, you're on the Youngstown Computer Show. How can I help you?
Yeah, I was given an old laptop, and even though it's old, I could still utilize it in my setup here and still do things with it. But the person that gave it to me didn't remember the administrator password. I mean, they sat down for hours trying a bunch of different passwords, and nothing worked. So you can log on to it with the guest on guest, but it won't allow you to do things like install software. What I was trying to do was to just do a complete system restore, and it won't let me do that. So I went online and I looked, troubleshooted some stuff, and so it said online to use the F8 function to get into safe mode, but when I go to do that, it kind of just freezes up, and it doesn't allow you to get into safe mode. So I guess my question is there a way, as me signed in as guest, to be able to restore this computer?
No, you're gonna have to get something bootable, like a DVD or a bootable USB stick that will allow you to boot up to the drive and then format the drive and reload it from that bootable device. As long as you're in guest, you don't have enough privilege to be able to run or execute anything that will reload it.
So there's no way to bypass or go around that?
Not from guest. So if do you have a Windows 7 disk or maybe a USB stick?
No, but am I able to maybe download something off the internet and then burn it to a DVD and put it into the laptop?
Yep, sure can. Yeah, as long as if you can get that media so that it's bootable, as long as you're booted to something else, because that something else will have enough privilege to rewrite the hard drive.
Uh-huh. What free OSs are out there? Do you have to pay for everything?
A bunch of Linux distributions are free. So if you're just doing web browsing or whatever, and it's older hardware, sometimes those Linux distributions are a little bit, better. It'll make the machine run a little bit better.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it. And I do find myself, when I come across an old piece of hardware that I still want to make a little bit of use of, I will download something like, Linux Mint was my go-to. Sort of ran good on, older hardware. All right. I want you guys to stay tuned. We're going to take a break, come back, take some of your phone calls. Larry's still hanging on. We're going to make sure we come back to him as soon as we get back from this break. And if you want to get on the line and talk to me here today, 330-729-9977. You're listening to the Youngstown Computer Show on 570 WKBN. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the Youngstown Computer Show. I am Joe Danier, owner of Youngstown Computer, and we get to do this on Saturday, talk about things that are happening over here in the tech world. Give you some behind the scenes and kind of tell you what's going on that you should be aware of coming up. We talked earlier about the CPU flaw, and if you weren't around for that first segment, just make sure that you run all the updates for all the equipment that you have. And I know a lot of you out there sitting on, iPhones that you're filled up with pictures, and you can't run an update until you clear that off. Well, now's the time to do it. Now's the time to dump that stuff off. The best way to do that is to either, one, dump all your pictures off to your computer, use the charging cable, use iTunes, or use, the My Computer to pull that stuff off of there, and then you can delete them off of the actual phone. If you've got a Mac, it's super easy because once you import them, you can just tell your Mac to delete those pictures when they're finished. But now's a good time, so don't let that be an excuse. Run those updates on the applications and the operating system. So Larry's been hanging on forever, so let's go to Larry next. Phone number 330-729-9977. Larry, what can we do for you?
Yeah, Joe, great show. Listen to you every weekend.
Thank you.
Couple questions here. I bought a internet radio, and unfortunately, the program that they have that comes with the radio doesn't have 570 WKBN as part of it. I guess because it's on the iHeart. But my question is, you can input the URL. I guess that's the number, correct?
Yes.
Of the website?
Yeah, each stream has its own URL that it will link up with that and pull the stream directly from the source.
So do you know it, or how do I find the URL? I tried everything that I knew. Apparently, I don't know that much.
I'll look it up. I don't know right off the top of my head the one that gets you directly to it, but we'll see if they publish it somewhere and find out if we can give it to you.
So, I can't right-click on it. I tried pasting the website, into their program, and it didn't do anything. So apparently, I have to, type in the numbers.
Yeah, they have an embedded player. So when you play it through the website, you're just using a little button that knows how to get to the station.
Right.
But there are other ones like Winamp and Real Player and whatever. And if we can look on the site and see where that actual link is, we might be able to pull it down and play it in a third party.
Okay, well, if you do get that information, I'll be listening. Now, just one more question.
Yeah.
I'm running a Toshiba laptop running Windows 7, and I can't get Malwarebytes to run. I've tried deleting it, reinstalling it, and for some reason it won't run. And I've got a couple other desktops and laptops, and Malwarebytes runs great. Any suggestions?
Is it erroring or what's happening?
No, it just I'm able to click on it, when it says run, yes, or update. Yes, and then that's it. Nothing happens. And like I said, I've uninstalled it, installed a newer version, and still it will not run.
All right, well, what's probably happening, if you go into Control Panel and go to Administrative Tools, you're going to find Event Viewer. In Event Viewer, you can look through applications, and you can filter it out to see, by errors. Now, that error is going to tell you what's happening in the background. It's going to flag some reason why I couldn't install. Either it got hung up and it wasn't able to move on. That's your starting point. Use that error to start troubleshooting from the actual, part where the exchange came from Windows to the Malwarebytes installation. Great.
And, and I listen to KB, and I'm retired, so I really I love the programming. I listen to Leo Laporte on on the Sunday evenings and that. So if there's somehow someone could maybe get that URL number for me, I would really appreciate it.
Cool. Yeah. All right. Thanks, Larry. Appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you, Joe.
Take care. Yeah. I mean, most of the radio stations, if you search for, they publish those addresses pretty readily available. They made it super easy. I heard it's great about that. Their content is so easy to get to, whether or not you're on a tablet or a desktop, because they have these embedded players that work really well. But then like Amazon, Amazon Alexa, it has an app that won't, it won't directly let you put a URL in to connect to a radio station. So you use a service called like TuneIn, and then TuneIn knows how to get to the iHeart radio station, and you can do it that way. So there's a number of ways that we can do it, and probably should ask them what the title, what type of internet device that was. That would have been probably helpful to see what operating system is running. But anyway, thanks for the call, Larry. Appreciate it. 330-729-9977. If you also want to text me, you can, I'm checking those messages if they come in, 330-333-1570. So if you're out and about today and you want to throw a couple comments at me, something you would like me to read on the air, 330-333-1570. All right, let's go next to Ray. Ray, you're on the Youngstown Computer Show. How can I help you?
Hello, Joe. I got your name from Morris. He's a good guy.
Heck yeah, he is.
And you can help me this way. I have a 7-year-old laptop. And I use the thing for just pay bills, I do my own taxes, do a little bit of investment and research, stuff like that. I'm looking at like maybe a Chromebook or something. Can you tell me what the major differences is between like a laptop and a Chromebook, if any?
Okay, so what you're giving up with a Chromebook is a Chromebook gets all of its software from the web. Okay, there really isn't anything that you either store or run off of the local hard drive. Okay, so that means that everything on it has to be able to be really small and compact so it can download that stuff when it's connected to the internet versus a full PC where you can install software and you can store data and it's a little bit more functional. Most of us who just do internet, we really don't know the difference because you open up a browser and it's all you really need as long as the browser works, which on a Chromebook it's running Google Chrome. You can print from it, you can get to the internet, you can check your email. As long as those functions are covered, you really don't need much more than that. So that's the big differentiator. If you have a lot of applications that need space to run, you're not going to have that with the Chromebook. So
it's not, essentially then the Chromebook's not much different than a tablet.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I got it. That answered the question. The next question, so I'm probably going to need a new laptop. Do you know of, years ago, like Dell's and some different ones, they used to use their own versions of software. Do they still do that? In other words, I can't remember in the old, this is years and years and years ago, if you had like a Word thing or whatever, you got the Dell version of it, not the real original Microsoft. Do they still do that? Do you happen to know?
With some software. Most of the Office stuff they keep free from rebranding it with coming from Dell. So if you order it with Office, it'll come with Microsoft's version of Office, not a different weird version. But they do have a bunch of subsidized software that, like if you buy an HP, it'll come with 20 HP programs, and some of it's, stuff that you need to run your video card or your sound card, but some of it's just applications that you can run. So a good deal of it still happens.
You are selling laptops, or is that what you're doing now, or desktops?
Well, we're building desktops. Laptops, we're still buying a brand called Asus. It's pretty much our go-to when it comes to. I mean, we'll buy a Dell when we need to as well.
Okay, you did terrific, buddy, and I'll tell Morris that you answered the question. You did really good.
Awesome.
Last thing, when I get rid of my old one, what are the necessary steps? I just don't want to hand it over to the recycle place.
All right, so the hard drive is what you want to be concerned with because that's where all the permanent data is stored. So either you can physically destroy the thing, drill holes through it, or make it so that it's almost unusable, or you could bring it to like Youngstown Computer and we can run a wipe on it, which basically writes zeros and ones to the whole platters of the drive. That way, if the drive's in there, nobody can recover stuff off of it.
This is a pretty good show, isn't it? All right, buddy, thank you. You helped me a lot.
All right, thanks, Ray. Appreciate it. All right, take care. 330-729-9977. Let's go to another Ray. Ray, you're on the Youngstown Computer Show. How can we help you?
Yes, I actually have a couple of questions, too. The first question I have is I have a desktop Dell that I'm running Windows Vista on, and I was just wondering, would it be worth it to try and upgrade that, and is it upgradable, or should I just consider buying a new computer?
It's so borderline because when Vista came out, it was at that older than 5 years mark. So if you put software on it, know that you might be doing that in the not so distant future as well, because it's probably at the end of its life cycle. Unless you really bought ahead the curve on the machine that's running Vista, where you still have some hardware value left in it. When I get the chance to bail on something that's every bit years past that 5-year mark, I take the opportunity.
I see. Okay. And then I guess same would apply for my next question. I have an old Gateway laptop running Windows 98, and I was just wondering, would there be any use for that, or should I just consider just disposing of it?
What I said to a couple callers ago, you can load these older machines up with like a free version of Linux and turn them into like web-only versions. So if you've got kids or you got someone that wants to browse the internet, that becomes a really safe place to do your general browsing on. That way, if it gets infected or destroyed, it doesn't matter, and you kind of keep your main machine pristine. So I usually use them as more of a single roll type of things. I don't really throw them away if they still got a little bit of life left in them.
I see. Could you also install Linux on the desktop on that Dell that I was talking about?
Oh, sure can. Yep.
Okay. And I think I heard you say it's called Linux Mint?
Yeah, there's a ton of different different flavors. Mint is just a really light and simple and easy to download version of it. You got Ubuntu is another one of our favorites, but it's all free. So you can just go to Ubuntu's website, download the ISO, put it on a bootable media, and then get the thing reloading.
Okay, same with Linux. I mean, what do you do? Go to the Linux website and just download it?
Yep, Linux. If you wanted Linux Mint, go to Google Linux Mint, and then they have a download button. You just click on it. It downloads. Takes a little while, and then you make it bootable, and then you load it up with Mint.
Any preference between these operating systems?
I would say when on my older stuff, I choose Mint just because it's lighter. If it's a performer, I'll go with Ubuntu because it's a little bit heavier. So I would go with Mint in your case.
Okay, very good. Thanks for your help.
You're welcome. Thanks, Ray. Appreciate it. All right. So we have an answer, I believe, right? Dave, want to join us here?
It all depends if the person that called it was looking to get the shortcuts, if you will, on the Google Chrome when you open up a tab. If you have one of them, just hover over it, click the X. Once you click the X, down at the bottom of the screen, you'll see thumbnail removed, then you'll see undo and restore all.
Okay.
So as long as I think if he hasn't cleared his browsing history, it will restore them, but you have to get rid of one to get that option.
Okay, there you go.
So maybe open up Google, go to a web page, close Google, go back to Google, see if that tab's there. If it is, X on it, click the X, and you'll get the option to bring back all of them. Okay,
thanks, Dave, for that research. That was awesome. Last segment here, we had a caller that lost those 8 recent tabs and was interested in bringing them back. So if you go into Google Chrome and go to the settings, on startup, if you have selected open the new tab page, you'll have your new tab, and then you'll have a blank window, and you'll have 8 of your most recent visits at the bottom. Normally, you'd want to clear those off if you didn't want anybody seeing where you were before. But if you like them and keep them, what Dave just shared with us here is how to get those restored. So good luck to you. I hope that helps. So 330-729-9977. Let's go to Dawn next. Dawn, you're on the Youngstown Computer Show. How can I help you?
Good afternoon.
Hi.
I've got a question about Firefox. I'm running Windows 10 and the latest version of Firefox, Quantum. And some time ago, I had about a half a dozen tabs up that I wanted to keep for some time. And if I would shut the computer down and then bring it back up, I could put restore recent tabs. And I did that for maybe 2 or 3 weeks in a row. And later I decided I didn't want those particular tabs up, and so I deleted them with the X at the top of the tab section. And I would have to reboot the machine for some reason or other. And then I would go back to Firefox and bring up the previous tabs. It's one of their functions. And then, unfortunately, all those tabs that I had recently deleted and didn't want anymore would come back up. And now it's to the point where if I just open Firefox after a reboot, all those tabs will appear. So I went to the tools and deleted my past history, thinking that would probably take care of it, but it didn't. So the question is, even though I deleted the Firefox history, those tabs still appear after rebooting and then just opening Firefox without anything else.
All right, Don, we're going to hit a break real quick. I'm going to put you on hold. We'll come right back to you, okay?
That'll be fine.
All right, cool. All right, we're going to take this break, come back, take some more of your phone calls. If you want to get lined up, 330-729-9977. You're listening to the Youngstown Computer Show on 570 WKBN. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the Youngstown Computer Show. I'm Joe Danier, owner of Youngstown Computer, and this is what we do on Saturdays. We get to talk about things that are happening in tech, make all of you listeners out there at least, think about some new stuff, maybe learn a little bit while you're here. Every day that I go out in public, somebody makes mention that they've listened to the show and they've learned something. It doesn't matter where they're on the spectrum, if they're just getting started or they've been using these things forever. We just talk about enough stuff here that, even if you get a very specialized segment of this industry, there's always something that happens where, you know, maybe your focus is on software and then something miraculous happens in the hardware department, or maybe a new virus comes out and you don't get to pay attention to that kind of stuff. So collectively, we talk about this stuff outward. Our users, they contribute to the show. Probably the most valuable part of the show is the ability for you guys to roll things in at me. And I just got theory to go on. Most of the good stuff comes from your experiences, and then we get to talk through it a little bit. And then with talking through it, we get to help a bunch of people who are listening in. You guys get to be a fly on the wall. And like I said, you cannot help but pick stuff up and learn from it. Even me, to this point, I learn from the experiences of people who call on the show that it kind of forces me sometimes to get in different areas because stuff's happening to people that I'm not even worried. Like, I mean, I haven't touched an Android phone in a while. Well, I kind of know that I got my eye off the Android phones for a little bit. I'm going to have to go pick one up. Just so that I can get familiar again with the feel and how it operates and whatever, so I could talk about it intelligently. So that's sort of where we're at. 330-729-9977. Let's go to Joe next. Joe, you're on the Youngstown Computer Show. How can I help you?
Yeah, hi, Joe. Thanks.
Yep.
Is there any way to restore files from the recycle bin once they've been deleted from the recycle bin?
You can run, there's a program called Recover, and I believe it's by Piriform, and it's free. And so if you download that free program, you can sort of run it, and it'll look at the stuff that's got the deleted mark on it, and it'll give you the option to bring that stuff back.
It's called Recover, but who is it again?
Piriform. I think it's Piraforme is the manufacturer.
Piraforme.
I'm looking it up right now just to make sure I don't give you a bad spot. Piriform.
Piriform, no E at the end.
Correct.
And that's Recover.
Recover, R-E-C-U-V-A.
R-E-C-U-V-A.
Yep,
okay.
That's it.
Sounds like a rap song. Okay, so all I do is go to this Piriform website.
Yep. Download
and then,
it free.
You say it's a free download.
Yeah, it'll do a short scan and a long scan, and you can have it'll go in the background and just analyze all the sectors on the drive, and it'll give you a chance to recover stuff that it might have found that you deleted.
Is it easy to use for, fairly easy for a novice type?
It is. If you know what you're looking for, it's super easy because after it scans, it gives you file names and what it found, and especially if it was a short time ago and it came from the recycle bin. So.
Okay, I know exactly what I'm looking for. The folders are still there, but they're empty.
Yep, there you go.
Okay, thank you very much, Joe. Appreciate that.
No problem. Thanks, Joe. And Don, I was totally going to take your call when we came back, and I did something boneheaded. So that was just me. If you want to call back, I can get you on the other side of the break. That was not intentional. That was me just getting distracted, I think. All right, 330-729-9977. You're listening to the Youngstown Computer Show on 570 WKBN. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the second hour of the Youngstown Computer Show. This is what we do on Saturday afternoons where we talk about things that are happening in the tech field. We give you guys the ability to text and call and ask questions and throw things out there. As I mentioned before going to break, I slighted Dawn. Dawn asked a question. We went into break. I said I'd come back. I came back, and I took somebody else's call. So, Dawn, my apologies. I do remember what you asked this. So here's basically my answer, and I'm almost certain this will answer it. All right, so Dawn had some... through Firefox, he would launch the browser, and his tabs would come up. And if he closed it down, the next time he opened up, it gave him that whole, would you like to open the same tabs up? He would do that, and no problem. Now, it's permanent. It doesn't ask him anymore. The same tabs come up, and he wants to see about getting rid of those. So here's what I think is going on here. In Firefox's options, you can go to the settings, and basically it's a first kind of area on the settings page that allows you to set current page as your your default page. Now, if you have multiple tabs open, when you hit that use current page, it will add all of the tabs that you currently have open. So let's just say you open Firefox and you want, Google to be your landing page. Well, you're going to close all of the other tabs that you have open, go into that settings page, and hit use current, and the only one that will open then is Google. If you have 4 tabs and you want all to open every time, then you go in there, open the 4 tabs you want to have open, go back into the settings, and find that whole use current pages, and those tabs will come up. I have a feeling you're going to go in there and find out you have those tabs committed as your home page is. So sorry about that again, Don. I didn't mean to slight you, and I hope that helps you. So 330-729-9977. Let's go to Bob next. Bob, you're on the Youngstown Computer Show. How can I help you?
Hi, Joe. How you doing?
Good.
I have a question. I'm in the market. I'm going to be buying a laptop. Now, I do have a desktop that I use to do, I guess, the heavy lifting. But I'm looking for I'm thinking of getting like an SSD drive. And I'm just wondering, with a 256 gigabyte, primarily what I'm going to have on that laptop is Windows 10, Office 365, and Chrome. And that's pretty much it. There's going to be no pictures, no media, nothing like that. And do you think the 256 on the SSD would support all that? Oh,
plenty. You're looking at about 60 gigs is what's going to be used after everything's updated and installed. So you're going to about half the drive taken up on a 120 gig drive. You're going to have only 25% on a 250. So you're going to be plenty good.
Okay, great. Well, I appreciate it. Thanks.
You're welcome. Thanks, Bob. Appreciate the phone call. What he's talking about, an SSD, there's two basically, when you're talking about hard drives, two principles. You either have data that's stored like on a USB drive, and you have mechanical hard drives that spin like a record, and your data is recorded to that record. There's a phenomenal speed difference between the solid state with no moving parts and the one that's spinning like a platter, because you can only spin that so fast, right, with such stability with a drive. You'll never be able to make up the speed. Now, for the most part, solid-state drives were so much more expensive than traditional mechanical drives. So you were looking at $300 for a solid-state drive versus $50 for a mechanical drive. It was no contest. Now they've come in line where we can buy for under $100 or around $100 for that drive that we were just talking about a couple minutes ago. Now they have even the lowest performing solid-state drive is still going to be a ton of seek speed ahead of a mechanical drive. So even if you have to buy at the low end, you're still going to get a performance increase with the solid state. So I would tell most of you out there that are running on a desktop, and you have a chance to copy, like your operating system's in good shape, you can always take everything that's on your drive, have Youngstown Computer take a copy of that, move it over to a solid-state drive, and then just replace the drive. That is a great upgrade. I wouldn't do it unless you had to do it, like you had a good, you were going to do your maintenance or your cleanup, and while it was in there, you say, hey, guys, I'm ready to do a solid-state drive. There's been some times where it took a computer that I was ready to, pitch, and it brought it back enough where I used it for another 2 or 3 years afterwards, just because it makes up such a big difference. If you have to use it every day, you're really, really slow on those mechanical drives in comparison to the solid state. So if you do bring a computer into Youngstown Computer, that is a worthwhile upgrade. In fact, Dave will tell you about it. We're just in that sweet spot where the pricing has come in perfectly for just about everybody in their budgets to be able to make this significant upgrade. So it's a really good time. And it does fluctuate, sort of like the stock market. So we'll have, going through December and in January, the prices were amazing. So call down the office, 330-259-7278. Let them know you're ready to do a solid state upgrade, and they will get you set up. Again, those drives are, $100. So the larger the drive is, it does go up a little bit as you start getting up at the higher capacities. But like I mentioned a couple weeks ago, if you're going to do large capacities, you don't want to do your large capacity storage like your movies and your music on high speed, a high speed data drive. You want your programs and you want your operating system to be running fast. Mass storage you can put on an external drive or a big hard drive and be just as well off. So don't waste your high speed stuff on storing capacity, because it's a waste. You're not benefiting from it. You want your fastest stuff to be on that drive. All right, 330-729-9977 is the phone number if you want to call, get on the program. I want to talk about, most of us did the whole electronics Christmas gift thing. And this was sort of the first year. I've got a 7-year-old. So Ryan was was asking for a couple of the video game consoles and stuff like that. And my wife and I, we fought the urge to go down that path. I really, I complain about that pretty regularly, about the next generation. I use scare quotes there. And so the next generation, they bury their head into strategy games and logic games, and that's the minute that we start to lose them to the real world stuff. Because for me, when I was my son's age, I loved taking things apart. Okay, I love to see how it worked on the insides. I was curious and inquisitive, and so this year I decided to get a lot of things like electronics kits and breadboards and resistors, capacitors, and lasers and all that fun stuff. So, we're tearing into the guts of electronics, because when you do this, a company called Kiwi is the one that I purchased, and you can get these kits sent and do these electronics kits once a month and learn about how things function. And I will tell you, I went into this thinking these kits were going to be basic. It's going to be no-brainers. It's not going to be any fun. The first kit we did was a flashlight kit where you have a hand crank, and then the hand crank fills up a capacitor, and the capacitor controls a little circuit, and then you had a couple of LEDs. Well, we had to build the whole thing. Like every component had to be screwed together, and every step of the way was explained. So I highly recommend these kits, especially if you like what we're doing is we're trying to stave off the whole video game thing, as long as possible. I mean, I'm not against video games. I played a ton of them, and I think I developed a whole lot of sort of that fantasy skill that you don't get in real life, where you get to go operate a business in game world, and you don't have to risk anything, and you get to learn a whole lot of that kind of strategy. That was always good. I was always really much for that. A lot of our people in the audience who plays games, I want you to feel like I'm making fun of the fact that gameplay does not only is entertaining, but you really do learn about these things that are fun. I know gamers very rarely don't know what's in front of them on that computer. They know about the video card and the memory because they're forced into touching those things. So, but like a 7-year-old, like in my 7-year-old's case, I'm just trying to delay that because it is very addictive. Okay, the game stuff is very addictive, and I want to make sure that we get the physical stuff out of the way first before we get into sort of that fantastical stuff. The games can be pretty, especially now. They're movies. They're full entertainment things. I don't know if you've ever got sucked into a game before, but you could waste entire weeks on trying to solve or break or, go in a game, and it just slides by like it's nothing. So 330-729-9977 is the phone number if you want to get on the program today. So the kits that we ended up getting were the flashlight, and it was cool because right before we went on vacation for the holiday, we built the flashlight, and then we went camping, so he got to use the flashlight that he just made on the camping trip. What made it sealed the deal. It was amazing. I'm really impressed with this. But they're not the Kiwi company. They're not the only game in town. There's a whole lot of these new science and chemistry kits. The whole STEM and the education side has done a really good job at inventing an industry. I give a lot of credit to the homeschoolers and the outside of public education that are pushing this too, because they're creating a demand for these products that when you go to the store, you've got options. You've got science options. You've got math options. These some of these video game tie-ins to writing code, and the Minecraft tie-ins to setting up servers and whatnot. It's all good. I mean, it really is. If we allow it to be something that is, is balanced, is you don't just throw yourself into a game and we lose you into that game. It's got to be something where you're getting something out of it and you're learning. So 330-729-9977 is the phone number. I did want to mention about this iPhone thing because people were kind of mad for a little while and then they stopped being mad for a little while. Excuse me. So what happened over the last couple of weeks is somebody found out that Apple was slowing down some of their hardware. Okay, they were just on their own deciding that we want to protect and preserve some battery life. So if we just make the hardware run a little bit slower, your battery will last a little bit longer. So the users got a little bit mad and said, well, that's not your call, Apple. If give me a button that makes me do that. You can't just get inside the code and slow my phone down, because then I think, hey, my phone's slowing down, and I go buy some new equipment that I never had to buy unless you slowed the phone down, right? So, you know, we all expect our electronics slow down to a certain point as we use them and whatnot, but we don't want somebody arbitrarily, for the sake of battery life. You know what we want? We want the battery to live long enough for the phone to function or the tablet to function the whole time that we have ownership of it. So if you flubbed up, right, that's really what it seems like to us as consumers. When you have to do that, when you slow the phone down, you didn't want to admit that maybe the battery fell a little bit below specs, or, you know, you're a little embarrassed about how long it was lasting, when every other phone company would have probably said, hey, you know what, when your batteries start dying, it's because we have, you know, 20 different radios on this thing, and you're using it 12 hours a day, so turn off some of the apps that are using your GPS, and, you know, that kind of a thing. But in this case, if you do have an iPhone and they did slow you down, they are offering, they're reversing it, so your phone's going to speed back up again. So if any of you out there have noticed that you got some speed back, but your battery's dying, they're offering a battery replacement. So if any of you out there need that or that applies, make sure you check into that. All right, let's go to phones, 330-729-9977. Let's go to Greg. Greg, you're on the Youngstown Computer Show. How can I help you?
Yeah, Joe, just real quick, the best place to recycle computers and some electronics, old phones and things?
I would say most convenient, a lot of these department stores will have battery recycling places. I know Best Buy has a little thing out there, so if it's just small stuff. If it's bigger equipment...
No, yeah, it's like tower PCs, old printers, things like that.
I heard a commercial on this station earlier in the week that Southside Recycling does electronics. So if you're doing bulk stuff, that's real good. If you
do they charge for that?
You know, some stuff they do. Some stuff has a disposal fee, and I think it's the big CRT monitors or most stuff.
Yeah, that's why I have one of those.
Yep. And the metallics, you might be able to get a little bit of cash for the metallic stuff and to subsidize the stuff that you would have to pay for. I doubt that you're going to have to put too much out.
Okay. All right.
All right. Thanks, Greg.
Thanks.
No problem. Thank you, Greg. And if you do business with us and we have your equipment, we have a local guy that ferries some of our recyclables away. We don't do volume, so, you know, big trucks of stuff is going to, you know, swamp us. But if you're in the midst of doing business with us and you want us to recycle it, we'll have no problem getting that to you. We have about 2 dumpsters full of electronics, and we probably clear them out maybe once a month. So as you can see, the Southside Recycling people probably can handle a little bit more volume than we can, and they're a sponsor of this fine station too. So it's always a good thing to support our fellow people in business that are connected to the station. So thanks to them. All right, 330-729-9977. Sue and Ray, I'm going to take your call when we get back. I promise I will not forget. Did want to mention about Youngstown Computer if you did need the phone number. Here's what I ask that you do. You might not need us right now, and that's good. I'm glad. But write our phone number down and put it on a sticky note and stick it on the side of your computer. What's going to happen is, you know, you're going to need us way down the road. And I'm volunteering now that I'd really like and ask that you use our service when that time comes. Give us a shot. And I'd like you to have that phone number, 330-259-7278. Stick it on the side, and then if something should come up, you'll have our number nice and handy, and we'll help you out. One of those cases happened yesterday where a good friend called in yesterday morning, and they got one of those were for Microsoft calls, and they fell victim to it with an hour on the phone talking to scammers, and they got outwitted in some cases. So we had to do a lot of mitigation. They didn't actually steal anything, but still, you have to kind of backtrack and find out what they have and how to prevent any damage from those kind of hacks. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that when we come back. So Ray and Sue will come back and take your phone calls when we get back. 330-729-9977. You're listening to the Youngstown Computer Show on 570 WKBN. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the Youngstown Computer Show. You're with me here when we get to talk about things that are happening in tech. We're answering your questions and filling your mind with stuff that maybe you weren't contemplating. And we're just using the conversations of regular people like you who are hitting situations and couldn't figure it out or want to know a little bit more about it. And all we do is, you know, kind of air it out over very publicly over the airwaves here, and then you get to listen in and draw your own conclusions and see if anything that we talk about, you know, helps you in your own life and the stuff that you're dealing with. So 330-729-9977. Let's start with Sue here. Sue, you're on the Youngstown Computer Show. How can I help you?
Okay, not really a computer question, but maybe related and maybe with your contacts. Would you know anyone who still repairs typewriters in the area?
Oh, interesting. No, every once in a while I will see somebody that has a sign in their window that says they do typewriters, but I'd have to really dig to find out and recall who it is. But if any of our listeners out there know of someone who does typewriter repair, you can call me and I'll make sure that I forward the info.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you, Sue. Appreciate it. And let's go next to Ray. Ray, you're on the Youngstown Computer Show. How can I help you?
Hi, this is Wayne.
Hi.
Yeah. I was calling because I have this kind of like ongoing problem that every time that my computer updates, when the system restarts, it gives me a Pinnacle driver check.
Okay.
Asks me if I want to run this, and of course I say yes, and then it says, your Pinnacle driver problem has not been fixed. Then it opens two windows, giving me a runtime error with a different number for each runtime error. Then you can just close those windows and you seem to operate fine and don't have any problem, but why does this happen every time?
All right, there's probably a device on your motherboard, and usually it's integrated into your video card in your case. Pinnacle makes a video capture chip, and your video card probably has the ability to put like a coaxial cable on it and be able to watch TV and record down to your computer. Well, as operating system changes, I have a feeling that we lost drivers for that Pinnacle at some point, and so you either have to find a way to get it disabled or satisfy the rest of the download and provide it the rest of the drivers that it's looking for. If you can pop open the case and look at the video card, find out what version of Pinnacle you have, you can go to Pinnacle's website, download the software, and just run it separately, because I don't think it's ever going to find it on its own. It's going to need some help.
Okay.
All right?
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks, Ray. And also, in addition to that, that's just most likely thing to happen. If you do have like a USB device that you use to capture video into your computer, then you just a matter of pull the USB and that will stop coming out. Software sometimes will call this to happen too. So if you go to like msconfig on the machine and you stop the software that's connected with Pinnacle, right? Eventually, once it doesn't find what it needs and it goes to Red X in the device manager, it might not ever ask you again if you get the rest of the Pinnacle software removed and deleted and stopped from running. So use msconfig in Windows 7 to find the Pinnacle software, find the video adapter software, and see if you can get it removed. Otherwise, you just have to go out and find the modern drivers, and they keep them up. Pinnacle's still a relevant company, so if you go to their site, you'll probably be able to find the software that you need. All right. 330-729-9977 is the phone number. You can text me, 333-1570. I'll read those text messages when we get back. You're listening to the Youngstown Computer Show on 570 WKBN. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the Youngstown Computer Show. We're here on this Saturday talking about things that are happening in tech. Question came over the text messaging here. That number, 330-333-1570. Texter says, how do you shut off Android phone apps that are not used very often? Okay, so normally on an Android, most apps that install are sort of intended to stay running for the most part. So most of those apps will do a pretty good job about, not affecting performance, but some don't. Okay, so you have two choices. One, either go through your app manager and pare those down, shut them down, or remove them. Or you can download an app that sort of manages programs that are running in the background. That was my favorite choice usually, because I didn't want to be bothered every time that it started running slow to have to go and clear out a bunch of apps, especially the ones that I am clearing up. I don't want removed for good. I just want them to be gone for a little while. So these applications sort of run in the background. I don't have a title to tell you about because I haven't used it in a little bit. A little while. So you'll have to search for app performance and app management in the Play Store. So see if you can find one there. And they all do about the same thing, where they evaluate battery life, evaluate total memory, and then they close programs down when they need to, open them back up when they need to. It's a better way, a more transparent way of managing those closes and opens. So 330-729-9977. Let's go to Gail next. Gail, you're on the Youngstown Computer Show. How can we help you?
Oh, hi, Joe.
Hey.
First of all, I want to tell you how great your business is. I've used your business 2 or 3 times, and they're just fantastic.
Oh, thank you for saying so. I appreciate that.
And I pass the word around every chance I get. I got a HP with it says 990 gigabytes. You know, of the hard drive on it. It's probably a terabyte. But anyway, it's an 8 gig RAM HP, and I have an HP monitor. Now, what happens though? It'll run great for about a week, and then all of a sudden, the monitor and the mouse just shut down completely and renders the computer useless. So I shut it off, and I keep trying to restart it, but it won't start. So last night it was off all night. So this morning I get up this morning and turn it on, and it still didn't recognize the monitor. It just goes through its cycle and the mouse. But by the time I went to the bathroom and did all my stuff, and I come back, and here it was loading. So I don't know if it could be in the BIOS or it's the hard drive. I've had some RAID expert notices off and on.
Yeah, but if it's not coming back on, all of that other stuff doesn't happen until it fires back up. So it's probably something lower level, like a memory stick, CPU, motherboard, or power supply. Usually the culprit is power. If the power supply is starting to go, it'll start acting erratic like you're describing. So if I were to put money on it, I would say that the power supply is starting to go.
Ooh, I never thought about that. I was thinking more it was software related or BIOS.
Yeah, and the reason I wouldn't go that route is because if even if you took all of the hard drives out of it and you unplugged everything except for those 4 devices, when you hit the power button, it's still going to go through the motions of loading. You're at least going to get to a certain point. Never will you hit the power switch and nothing happens. So that's why I think it's one of those 4 devices something's going wrong.
Okay, because when I turn on the computer, the monitor cycles through. And it scans, but it doesn't find it. It just doesn't recognize it, and that's when I know that problems exist. But you still think it's a power supply, then, huh?
I'm just struggling to picture this. So you're saying when you do hit the power button, at least that you get a display up. It shows where.
Well, all I do is get the monitor notice where it's cycling through trying to recognize the monitor.
Yeah, that's the monitor kind of trying to pick up a signal. The computer's not actually sending it anything useful. So yeah, I'm still going to go with power supply. Okay.
Okay, I'll have to bring that into you because I don't think I can change the power supply.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, they'll put it on the bench and find out really what it is, and then give it a once over. Just to they can be more thorough when it's in person.
Okay, I thank you very much.
No problem.
I'll be seeing you shortly.
All right, thank you so much, Dale. Appreciate it. Aside from that, if you have a different monitor that you can plug into it, where it's unlikely that the monitor goes out, I mean, it's still possible that something there, but it's going to be something on a very basic level. So it's either going to be like the video card or it's going to be the power supply. So I hope we helped you out there. 330-729-9977. I guess the Consumer Electronics Showcase is happening coming up this week, so we'll have more to talk about in the next show about what's to come. CES, it's out in Las Vegas. They usually take the opportunity to kind of let everybody know where the big manufacturers are hedging their bets, where they're putting it on. Everybody's speculating that the TV is the next battleground, where smart TVs, where you got all these set-top boxes that are putting apps in to help you manage your stuff and getting you to stream. But everybody in the cable industry knows that everybody kind of went cutting the cable this last year. Lots of subscribers down from traditional, buying content the way we have for years. And so now the TVs are going to start catering even more to those of us who have broken away from that cable connection. So should be interesting. We can really delve into it. I'm kind of interested in where the big companies are headed next. So 330-729-9977, and then as far as when we come back next time about Consumer Electronics Showcase, I will outline the big 3. Okay, so the big manufacturers, you got Samsung, you got Apple, and you've got Dell, and see what they brought to the table. But I'll have more information as this unfolds, so we'll talk about it next week. 330-729-9977. Let's go to John next. John, you're on the Youngstown Computer Show. How can I help you?
First of all, you could definitely slow down on your phone number. Some of us have different diseases, and we can't follow that fast. So if you could slow down your number a little bit, giving out your number, that would help out a lot.
Okay, got it.
Next thing, I'm a senior citizen, and I cannot figure these computers out. Somebody points to something on the screen when we're doing something. Oh, you got to upload that. Okay, what do you know what upload is? What does it mean? Go up or go down? Then download. What's the difference between download? It's upload, download. I mean, it's just, then they give you the error, like you mentioned earlier, error, RR, 4R, or whatever, and it doesn't tell you anything about it. What do you do? What I'm concerned about is I've taken various computer courses in the area, and none of them worked out to my level. And I'm just frustrated. I got government paper I got to fill out for Social Security and stuff like that. I can't do it.
All right. Well, it's as far as like the general computer. Did you take the library courses? I'm assuming.
Oh yeah, they're no match.
Gotcha. All right. Well, what we could, I obviously can't. It's not a real good media to do that here, but stick around. And when we talk about this kind of stuff, in this case, since you threw out upload and download, let me give you the what you need to know about it. So upload is when you are sending information to your ISP. So if you've got Armstrong or you got Time Warner or Spectrum, that's when you are sending stuff to them. And downloading is when they are sending stuff to you. All right. So where that's important is most of the time when you're downloading stuff like movies and music and data, you're downloading programs, it's a one-way thing where you're really dependent on the speed at which it's coming into your computer from whatever connection that you're on. So the download speed is more important than the upload speed in that case. Now, the other side, when you reach out and make requests to them, either you're sending information through an email or you're making a request over a browser, that stuff is going up your pipeline to the people that are above you. So basically, this industry sort of works that way, where we're developed to the point where if you didn't get a good mouthful when it was first coming out, it gets above your head pretty quick and it gets frustrating pretty quick. And there's not a magic pill that allows you to have enough of an understanding to to have enough of it to know. A lot of these, the scammers we run into regularly, that's what they prey on, is that, they know more than you, so that it's so easy to trick somebody who's sort of just getting started. So we've always advocated for users being able to get in there, play around, start doing stuff, start learning that way, but doing it safely, where we kind of point out the people who are trying to take advantage of that so that at least you can defend yourself. So I understand your frustration, and I wish I had a magic bullet where, that you can go somewhere and they just fill your head with the stuff that you need to know. But sticking around here and listening to the conversations is the best way of doing it, and taking some of the stuff we talk about and go right out and start tinkering around with it and doing it on your machine. That's the best way. But just keep throwing your questions at me, and I'll do my best to break those questions down and give you an understanding. I mean, in this case, you were interested about download and upload speed. Keep those coming, because those help everybody. And I don't know if it's been a month since we talked about the differences between downloading and uploading. So thanks for the call. Appreciate it. Let's move on to Jim next. Jim, you're on the Youngstown Computer Show. How can I help you?
Hi. I have a HP desktop. 4 gigabytes of RAM, and honestly, I don't remember the hard drive. And it's running Windows 7 Premium, and everything's been fine. And I also have a GPS system that is supposed to be updated through the computer, which has been fine. But recently, when automatic updates come through from Microsoft, they're called Net Framework.
Yep.
There's 3 of them that it's trying to download, and for whatever reason, it won't accept them. And when I plug in the GPS system to update it, it instantly comes up and says requires Net Framework, and it's one of the numbers that's trying to download. And I've contacted Garmin, and they tried to run around different things, and they were unsuccessful. And I'm just, I can't update the maps or the traffic or anything. I was just wondering if you had any insight into it.
Well, you could try doing a couple things. First off, you could delete the update information that's downloaded to your computer and give it a chance to download a fresh copy, because in some cases it downloads a corrupt copy and it won't install because of it. So what you're going to have to do is on the C drive, there's a folder called Software Distribution. You go under C drive and then Windows and then Software Distribution. That Software Distribution folder has all of the stuff that it downloaded through Windows updates. So now if you go through and turn off the Windows Update service, you can rename that folder And then when you restart that service again, it'll create that folder again, and then you'll be able to download that .NET framework again. Give that a shot first because that's the least intrusive thing that you can do. Now, if that doesn't work, you can download an offline version of .NET Framework. So take note of the one that it's failing on, and then you can go out to Microsoft's website, download the same version that it's trying to install. It'll download in its entirety, and then you can close down your apps and your antivirus and anything else is open and run just that .NET Framework separate, away from everything else. You can go in there through add remove programs, and you can remove some of the older versions of .NET Framework. But I think if you get it running offline version, that should work for you.
Okay, I'll give that a try.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Jim. Appreciate the phone call. And if you're interested in shutting down those services, this is sort of like the Black Diamond thing. You don't want to do this unless you absolutely have to. In Windows 7, if you right-click on the computer icon, like if you're in File Explorer and you go to Computer, right-click on it, you go to Manage, and then the Management console comes up. You're going to look for Services on the left. It's almost down at the bottom. You'll find Services. If you click on Services, it'll list every back-end service that's running. Okay, so you scroll down that list, and they're labeled pretty intuitive. You'll be able to figure out what they are and look for Windows Update. It's sort of towards the bottom. It's in alphabetical order. And then you're going to see Windows Update Service, and it'll tell you that it's started because you can't delete that folder while it's started. So you have to actually shut down the Windows service first. So you select Windows Update. You hit the little stop button, which turns Windows Updates off, and then you can go to your software distributions folder. Just rename it. I do software distribution old, right? And then once it's renamed, I can delete it. But I rename it, then turn the service back on, and that allows it to start downloading those fresh definitions again. So go to the system or the management, go to services, find Windows Update service, scroll down the list to Windows Update, stop it, delete that software distribution folder, and then Windows Update will download all fresh copies of any of the software that it is. So if it is a problem with the download that's sitting on your hard drive, it'll get a fresh copy the next time. All right, thanks for the phone call. Tom, I see you out there. We're going to take your call when we get back from this break. You're listening to the Youngstown Computer Show on 570 WKBN. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back, everybody. This is final segment of the Youngstown Computer Show. We've had Tom hanging out there, so let me get Tom right on the line. Tom, you're on the Youngstown Computer Show. How can I help you?
Yeah, how you doing? Good afternoon.
We're good.
I have a computer that runs, it's a Dell computer running Windows 7, and when I shut it down and it starts back up, I'll get an error message saying that it failed to connect to a Windows program. The toolbar at the bottom comes up a different color. If I restart it a couple times, it'll eliminate that. Is there anything I can do for that, or what does that mean?
Sounds like an application that's in startup is trying to communicate with another application. You'll probably either have to find that application and remove it, but at the very least, you use msconfig to shut that application down so it doesn't nag at you. It's probably not affecting the system much, but other than popping up a message that it can't communicate.
Right. The computer operates normally. It's just kind of annoying.
Yeah. So I would go. msconfig is going to be your friend in there. Hopefully it's named similar enough that you can find out which one's causing the message and just remove it.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks, Tom. Appreciate the phone call. And msconfig, it's not dangerous because if you're wrong about it and you shut down the wrong service, you could just start it again. So if you're wrong or you didn't delete anything, all you did was remove a checkbox. Next to the name of that service. So, what should I do with my Ameritech bag phone? Museum? ? All right, so that's interesting because in the studio here, I noticed that there's a little iPhone. It's probably like a 4. The thing looks tiny. It's so small and cute. But yeah, these older things, I do the same thing. I save these phones after I've long stopped using them, and I go through I keep it in this plastic tub. And every couple of years, I'll run across it, and it'll just bring a smile to my face because I have the proper evolution of all of the iPhones since I started buying iPhones. And not that they're ever going to be worth anything because there's literally billions of these things. So there's not going to be like you have the only one in Ohio. But the Ameritech bag phone, we're getting towards 30 years here since that was made its way onto the scene. So yeah, it might be museum worthy. It might be a cool thing to set up. But yeah, that's cool and interesting. I don't think it has much value, but may be valuable to you. All right, I have an older Western Digital MyBook model WD2500 outboard hard drive. One day it was just dead. No lights, cannot get the light up or do anything. Is there a way to recover data on it? Yes. as long as the drive inside of it. So inside the drive, or out on the outside, it's a sleeve. It's basically, a hard drive inside of a casing. And so we can remove the drive and we can hook it up to just a regular machine or another, enclosure, and then we can read the stuff off of there. So chances are the enclosure just died out and it just needs to be plugged into something else. So we can disassemble it, take the drive out, and do recovery. And it might be, just a matter of buying another enclosure, plugging your drive back into it, and you won't have to really recover. Recovery is only when the drive can't function on its own. It can't run, it doesn't have power to it, it's clicking, something like that. Then you're recovering, or the formatting is dead. I have a feeling that you plug this into an enclosure and it's just going to work again. So inside all of our external drives, there's a hard drive typically inside that enclosure, all of ours. So when you're taking the small ones, that's a little laptop hard drive that's in there. The bigger ones, that's a regular desktop hard drive. And then solid states and whatever make its way in there too. So I get asked a lot about, water and these solid states and flash drives. People, I don't know why, they have a tendency of putting them through the wash and they end up getting wet. And water, I'm telling you, it's the bane of technology here, because even our water in this area is so heavy with minerals. So even if we had one customer that had a roofing problem and a bunch of just regular water ran in, and because it was so heavy with minerals, we the circuit boards all got wet and the power supplies all got wet. Everything got wet. We had a good 4 days of just making this machine as dry as possible, and it worked for maybe a day and a half, and then it fizzled out. So the best thing you can do is just, when these things get wet, we have a little, and I never can say that, decantescent, whatever it is called. But those things will suck the water out of the humidity out of it, and they're the best thing to be able to pull electronics. We did a test at the Canfield Fair a couple years ago where I drenched an Android phone and then put it in one of these bags, and it worked absolutely perfect. All right, so anyway, thanks everybody for joining us on the program today. We'll be back next week for another Youngstown Computer Show. Have a great week. You're listening to the Youngstown Computer Show on 570 WKBN.
I'm Nick Soboleski, a Select Quote agent with a true story that could save you hundreds of dollars a year. A woman named Linda